Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
Peace and blessings, love and light, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I am a minister, spiritual life coach, author, and founder of Redefining You, LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. So if this is your first time listening into the How Now podcast, welcome to the show, and welcome to the How Now podcast family. Be sure to go to www.hownowpodcast.com, pick your favorite podcast platform, and then like, follow, and share so that you can see more of what's happening in the now. You can also scroll down to the bottom of the page, click on the banner for this week's show, and it will take you to the How Now YouTube channel, where you can like, follow, subscribe, and share there, and also see some of our shows in replay. Okay, so again, that's www.hownowpodcast.com. Make sure you do that right after the show, not right now, because we're going to start the show. So with that, we're going to talk about today's topic, which is overcoming and transforming limiting beliefs. Now, a lot of us, as we've been in the pandemic, and a lot of changes have gone on in our lives as a result of it. We've seen a lot of pivots that have had to be made, and with that comes fear. With that has come some anxiety. With that has come people who are going into depression. And, as we're going into the holiday season, we're seeing people that are starting to, show signs of depression, due to the changes and things that are happening in society. And so we're wanting to try to transform that. We're wanting to try to overcome that and to overcome some of the self-sabotaging that's been happening as a result of what's been going on in the now. And to help me to talk about that this evening is my beautiful guest. And as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have her to introduce herself at this time.
Thank you so much, Kim. What an honor to be here on your show. And I'm Marisa Grace. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, EFT practitioner, and a mindset coach. And I help women reconnect back to themselves, overcome depression, anxiety, and those limiting beliefs, that they're struggling through life right now, and find clarity and purpose in life.
Awesome. I'm so glad to have you here. And she is also a podcast host, and her show is called Rising Out of the Chrysalis, and it's stories that inspire. And I had an opportunity not too long ago to be a guest on her show. And so I'm so happy that you are here, Marisa, to talk about these, overcoming and transforming limiting beliefs. And so we'll dive right in. So before we do that, let's talk a little bit about your background and what you were doing prior to the pandemic with regards to your clients. What were some of the things they were talking about?
Prior to the pandemic, to be honest, I was actually working a corporate job. I was getting my certification to be a therapist. Mm-hmm. This was a long life goal that I had, as I wanted to be a psychiatrist at one time. I do have, a minor in psychology, but I decided not to pursue that at that time because there was just a lot of things that didn't align with me. So to give you a little background, I suffered from depression since I was a teen right into my adulthood. And I didn't really have the right help to get through the depression and overcome the limiting beliefs that I was struggling with from childhood trauma.
Gotcha.
And while I was studying psychology, there were a lot of things that just didn't align with me. So my life kind of took a different route for a little while. So I went into the corporate world and kind of stuck there for a little while I figured out things and finally found my way into holistic healing. And I found, I guess what you could call it, your niche, yes. However you want to pronounce it. And that actually aligned with my own belief system of healing naturally and getting over all those limiting beliefs. And Actually, the whole, COVID thing made me realize to just dig within and start my, I don't want to say start. My healing process started a long time ago. It's been a long journey of healing, but it made me just kind of go full throttle in the healing process and find my way and find my purpose. And once I did that, I'm like, okay, I found my purpose is to turn around and help people overcome the same obstacles that I've was able to overcome in a natural way.
Right.
Without the drugs, without spending so much time on talk therapy and not being able to not get anywhere, where so many people get stuck there. And I was able to overcome my depression, my anxiety. I had so many limiting beliefs, self-worth. I didn't like myself. I had no self-love whatsoever.
Wow.
But I was a person that loved to help people, and I was a people pleaser. And that was because I couldn't please myself. So, when we can't help ourselves, we tend to go and please others, right?
Right.
We want to do everything we can to make sure other people are okay, that they're attended to their needs or tended to, only because we can't do that to our own selves. And so we find satisfaction, we find fulfillment when we help somebody else. And that was me. I was a people pleaser. I wanted to help people because that made me feel good, because I never got that help.
Right.
I never got anyone to help me, through my pain and to my trauma.
Right.
So COVID, in a way, kind of made me, or gave me the time, I should say. For a lot of us, it did the same thing.
Right.
It gave us that opportunity, because now we had extra time in our hands,
Right.
to do self-reflection.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of individuals did. They did self-reflection, and then they're realizing, oh my God, I have all this stuff going on, all this drama that I haven't dealt with, all these emotions that I've been suppressing all my life that I need to deal with. And that's what I did. I finished, I came out of that as a totally different person.
Nice.
And came out, full throttle, trying to, get my therapy business going, and on this journey of helping others do the same, have that same transformation, which I knew it's possible because I did it. If I could do it, I know you can do it. Anybody can do it.
That's it. I love that you say that, because, it's important that, especially when we're seeking to help others, that we've had the experiences that they have, because that's a way of allowing us to connect with that person and to be able to say, I understand what you've been through. I understand, what the process is. So I think that's wonderful that you talk about that, because there are some people we think about the fitness world. There are some people who have always been in tip-top shape, and they're trainers and things like that, but they have never experienced being overweight or struggling with health issues and things like that. And so some people are like, they tend to kind of gravitate to those who have been through the journey, and they can watch them go through the journey. And that's something that I'm experiencing myself, as I'm going through my wellness journey and working on my certification to help people in that realm, being able to connect with people on that level. So I'm sure that that was helpful in allowing you to be able to present your business to people who needed it, because they could see that you are walking with them and not walking ahead of them or behind them pushing them to do it, but walking alongside them in their journeys. I think that that's amazing.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Kim. Like, no one, you're on this journey of, of the wellness, right?
Yes.
Getting your body back to the way you want it. And I kind of went through the same thing at probably a smaller scale, but it's so true. When we connect with somebody that's been through the same road right, that you've walked through, and they understand your struggle, your pain, the obstacles that you face. It's very different than, reaching out to somebody that doesn't understand that because they've never experienced it. And they're telling you, well, just get over it. You can do this, these are the results. I'm like, well, you can't achieve the same results the same way as everybody else.
That's right.
We all have different obstacles that we have to go through. Our bodies are different. Our lives are different. We may experience the same symptoms. We all experience the same emotions, the same symptoms, but our journeys are very different from each other.
Right. There are different variables. And
yes.
And I think sometimes we get caught in thinking that there's one magic solution to everything. And it's just not. It's not. We have to look at little things. And again, I have to go back to what I know with regards to nutrition and things like that. There are different plans that work for different people.
Yes.
And you really have to dig deep and see, where they're at in order to help them to get to where they need to be. You can't get them to where they're going if you don't know where they are. And just assuming that they're where they, oh, well, this was my experience, so they must be starting from this point too. That's just not realistic.
No, it's not.
To see where they are. So.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a little story. So a few years, I think I moved into this home 3 years ago. We might be going in our 4th year. I'm losing track of time. So I have my parents living with us. And shortly after moving, a year or so later, my mom was diagnosed with diabetes.
Okay.
And she's always been a heavy-set woman. I don't want to say a heavy-set woman, or she's been always overweight, but she was always a plump woman.
Okay.
Maybe that's a better way. Her whole entire life, or most of her life. So she was never a slim type of person. She's always been, large, extra large size type of woman. And now she was faced, she's been pretty healthy most of her life. And now she's faced with this diabetes that, where did it just come from?
Right.
So as I'm going through this journey of holistic, healing, she's been my biggest supporter, and she's allowed me to, be able to use the tools that I've been learning along the way with her. And she's been supporting me and really kind of just rooting for me. So I said, you know what, allow me to help you out here so you don't have to go on medication.
Right.
Allow me to find out what is the root cause of why did your body all of a sudden now decided to create diabetes? Because I'm a firm believer that when your body creates something, and even myself, I had gained a lot of weight after my first child that it took me a long time to shed. And I knew there was a reason behind it all along, why the body decided to hold on to the weight. So I was explaining to her, I'm like, there's a reason your body decides to create these things. It's not something that you got off the street. It's not like you were walking on the street and all of a sudden the wind blew.
Right.
And you caught a cold.
Jumped on you, right.
Yeah, and jumped on you. So the body created this. So we can find out why it created it. We can heal that part. And then we could play around with your diet, that's contributing to it, because it's, more than one thing. So she allowed me to do that. We found out the root cause through hypnosis of, why the body created that. We just tweaked like 2 or 3 things in her diet. And so it's been 2 years, not even, she has shed over 60 pounds in total.
Wow.
And she feels great. She's 64 years old, and she feels really good and she has more energy than I do.
That is awesome.
And she's not on medication. She's been able to manage her sugar levels. And, I introduced her a new way of eating. I said, it's not a diet. We just have to learn how to eat differently, just slightly different, just tweak a few things. And it's not like she went on this whole diet thing. You have to do this and that or that, but she's been able to stay off medication. So because, I understood her issue and she allowed me to help her.
Yeah.
She's been doing amazing through the process. But the key thing to that was learning why the body decided to hold on.
Right.
To create that diabetes and hold on to the weight all these years.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I find, even with myself, when I gained my weight, it all had to do with the body trying to protect me from my past trauma.
Yeah.
And I had trauma of sexual abuse as a child. So my body was trying to protect me as an adult.
Wow.
So, because at some point I wished I was ugly and I didn't want to be attractive and I didn't want to attract the attention.
Right.
So I needed to understand that and heal that part. And I wasn't ready. And once I was ready to heal that part of me, and I knew that. I knew I remember specifically when I wished that, into my body that, I wish I didn't attract the attention. And once we know, why we create these things within ourselves and we're ready. We have to be ready to heal those parts of us. And sometimes we're not ready.
Yes. And I think that's part of the self-sabotage too. We're just not ready to accept what it is that may come of it. I tell people that, for some, it's not the fear of failure. For some people, it's the fear of success too. People are like, wow, I didn't realize that there's a fear of success that comes too. What if I succeed in doing this? We already understand about the failing part. And so we pause because we don't want to fail. But what happens if we don't fail and we do well? Am I capable of handling that?
That's right, because it's unfamiliar territory.
Yes.
You never experienced it before.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of imagine yourself, right? How would it feel if I didn't have this part anymore in my life? And most people never think about that. They think about, oh, I don't want this. This is annoying. Why do I have this? But then when you ask them, well, then what do you want? What would life look like without it? It's like, well, I don't know, because, I never experienced it. I never thought about it.
Right. And that's something that's so important to remember. And I love that you say you have to be ready, because you do. You have to be ready. And I've said this repeatedly during our show, during several of my shows. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. At the same time, you can't push their head down in the water and think they're going to open their mouth and drink that water. Then some of them will drown before they do that. And so, it is something that you have to be ready to do. You have to develop a mindset that allows you to be able to receive what's going to be for your good. And sometimes, like you said, the fear and the anxiety comes, and with that comes the depression and everything else like that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how do we begin to reverse some of that fear and some of that anxiety that comes along with making those changes.
Well, one, you have to be ready, like we just spoke about, because I've worked with people who, okay, I don't want the anxiety, but they don't want to let go of the comfort of having that in their life because they're so used to it. They're used to having the attention around them when they experience these symptoms. And they don't want to let go of that because they don't know, like we said before, what it's like without it. So it brings them a sense of comfort to be in that zone. So you have to come to a point in your life, and some people do need to be pushed over the edge. I'm sorry to say. There has to be a breaking point where they say, okay, I've had enough of this and I need to change something in my life. If you cannot get to that point where you say, I had enough of this, then you're still in your comfort zone.
Right.
Where you're like, I still like to go home and cry and whine because, when I cry and whine in my depression and I just lay down my bed, everything gets taken care of for me.
Mm.
So in some way, it could be a comfort zone for them because they don't have to deal with reality.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But it's interesting that you talk about people too, because people can be a part of that as well. A
Yes, the
part of that because
surroundings there. Yeah.
they'll keep you right where where you're comfortable at, because then they can come in, and some people, they like having their thumb on your head to be able to control the things that you're doing. But then also you have the fact that people will come in and say, well, you're not going to be able to do that. They're used to you
Yeah.
being that way, and anytime you're looking to make changes for the better, they're gonna be like, no, you need
Yes.
to stay right there, because that makes them feel better that you're lesser, I guess. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the right term.
No, they take on this role, right? So let's say you're in this environment where, you have somebody living with you, whether it's a spouse or a parent that's taking care of you, you're depressed, maybe you're not working because of your depression and anxiety. So that spouse or that parent or that carer will become the caretaker. Getting tongue. And if they've been doing that role for quite a while, they might be very comfortable of just playing that role of taking care of you.
Right.
And it's going to be hard for them to let go of that role as well.
Yeah, sounds like a domino effect.
It is a domino effect. So you have your environment that's feeding into the symptoms that just allowing those symptoms to progress within you, because they're not giving you a doorway to go and get the help that you need, and they're just kind of supporting it and feeding it. And then when you do take that step to like, okay, I think I need help, they'll either prevent you from getting the help, right? Or convince you that, maybe you should do this. Oh, maybe you're not ready. And they'll just feed into it. So when you're in that environment, there has to be like a breaking point where you say, I had enough, right? Something's got to change in my life. Like, this isn't working. I've had enough and I need to make a change. And when you get to that point, that's when changes and miracles happen. And that's when healing really takes place. It's when you get to that point, and whatever modality you go after to help you out, it will work, because you have that faith within you that this is what you want. You have that belief that you now created, that a change must take place within me so I can move forward, so my life can be different. But as long as you hold on to that comfort zone, it's going to be very hard to shift to a different, type of life that you're dreaming about, because they're all dreaming about, oh, I wish I was like the other person. And I've been there. I've been through that stage. I have a spouse that, after a serious injury at work, ended up getting very depressed and with severe anxiety. And it took him a few years to get out of that comfort zone. It got to a point that, I had to push him over the edge. I had to give an ultimatum. You either, get help, or something's going to dramatically change in our lives. Because you get so comfortable, because everything's taken care of for you. So there's no effort to, make a change.
Yeah. But I think you hit on an important point too, in that you get to that breaking point, and then you have to seek the help, because if you don't know what to do, you're at your wit's end, and that's where some people take that step of suicide, because they just don't know what else to do. They just know that they're tired, and that's why I'm sure it's important that people like yourself and other therapists come in and are able to show you, okay, I know that you're at your wit's end, or you're tired of the space that you're existing in. Okay, but now let's talk about some things that we can do to help support you so that you go that other way, so that you don't go over that edge of taking your own life, but you're going to a space where you're saying, okay, now I'm in a position where I'm open to suggestions, or I'm open to somebody tell me, okay, so yeah, I'm here. What do I do?
Hey, I've been in that place. I've been in that place where I thought, is it worth this life, keep going in this life? Is it really worth it? I mean, I could just end it now. The suffering is too much. The pain is too much. And one, it could be, lack of resources to get the right help, not knowing where to go, who to reach out to get the help, not having the support system that you need at home, not having the support system, from your community or whatever, whether if you're involved in a church or a certain community group, and not having any support system from anywhere. And that I experienced. I didn't have the support of my parents. They didn't understand depression. They didn't understand what I was going through. Nobody understood. They just thought I was very quiet and, to myself, and they didn't understand my pain. And whenever I cried about, whatever suffering I was going through, I was told to, shut up, like stop crying. They would shut me down. And that's very hard.
It is.
And when you're in that place, you feel like, okay, there's no way out of this. I find, I describe it like a prison, like you're inside of this bubble with no doorway. There's no way out of it. But there is a way out. It starts with we have the power, and the power is in your mind. It's in your mindset. And it just takes a little switch, a little switch of thinking in your mind, of telling yourself, nope, you can do this. Yeah, that voice keeps telling me all the stuff, that all the bad that's going on in my life, that I shouldn't pursue, any longer because it's too painful. But if you listen closely, you will hear a soft voice within that will say and remind you, right now in this moment, you are healthy, you're fed, you're fine. And and I know your show is about now, and I love that. And in the now, and I still practice this today when I go through a struggle, and we all have struggles every day, whether it's financial struggles, worries about something, our children, whatever it is. So whenever I encounter a situation, an obstacle, I just pause and I remind myself, okay, right now, at this moment, this very moment, everything is perfect. I'm healthy. I can walk. I can breathe. I'm inside my home. I have food in the fridge. I have so much around me. Everything is just perfect. This very moment. And if you just practice that and remind yourself that in those moments where everything is just right, and stop thinking about the chaos that's going around, you will find a window of opportunity to give you that little boost to seek the help, to go find and research and find someone that can guide you in the right direction, so you could find your way out of that prison that you're in. And you can do it. Yeah.
That's gratitude all day long.
Yes.
Making sure that we're grateful for what we have. That's what we talk about. Even just taking that deep breath. I have the breath of life in me right at this moment, and I'm here. I'm here, and I can be of service to myself and to others just by being here. And so I love that you focus on that, because it is about gratitude. It is about right now. I'm sitting there. I'm not sitting in the dark. I'm not sitting up looking at the stars. I'm here in a place that, quote unquote, may be a safe space for me. I'm okay right now. I can say in this moment, I'm okay. And
That's
that right
right.
there is a victory. So I think that's awesome that you talk about that, because it is an important step in being able to overcome and to be able to transform. Just stopping in this now and saying, I'm here.
That's right. And I always remind myself, as a child, we were very poor. I was born into a very poor household. And when I say poor, I mean very poor. I think we lived in this apartment with one room. There was there might have been running water. There was no bathroom, no stove, no
Wow.
fridge.
Wow.
So I always bring myself back to that time of my life. And I remind myself, I was a happy child at certain moments
Right.
with nothing. And I felt like I had everything I needed. Do you ever watch, whenever they put those commercials and they say, let's feed the children in Africa and this. But if you watch closely a lot of the videos, those children, not the ones that they purposely put the sad children that are crying, they do that on purpose.
Right.
But if you watch some of these children are so happy.
Yes.
And you're like, but they don't have anything. They don't have the things that we have.
Right.
Because we don't need all these things to make us happy. Everything is from within. So I always remind myself whenever I was going through the darkness, those struggles, is I want to go back to that place where I had nothing, but I was so happy.
Yeah.
Because
Bible, it tells us to be childlike in our thinking.
Yes.
And they say that because, as a child, you're so carefree. You don't think about, those bills and these other things. And yes, we're not saying to discard those things.
Right.
But to go back to that space of joy, of knowing that, we don't have to have all of these extravagant things to be happy, because happiness is not found in things. Like you said, it's found within.
It's within. And once we start, working through with our emotions, the things, our feelings that we're going through, the depression, the self-doubt, not feeling worthy, not loving ourselves. The key, to the healing is finding love within. And once you start learning how to love yourself from within, nothing matters anymore. Like the physical no longer matters. You're not dependent on the outside world, the physical world, to give you that love, to give you satisfaction, to give you all these things that you've been looking for all your life. One thing, my whole entire life, since I was a child, I was always looking for a home. I never felt like I was at home.
Wow.
And as an adult, I was always looking for the perfect home and dreaming about the perfect home, perfect house, and never felt like I was ever home until I finally connected within and found self-love. And then I understood that's where home is.
Wow.
It wasn't a physical place. And I thought, I had to have a specific home looking a specific way and had to have specific things. And it was never about that. I finally understood that's not where the home I was seeking was totally different. But, because we don't understand, we think everything is outside of us.
That's what we've been.
That's where I was thinking. Yeah, I was seeking something outside of me to bring me that fulfillment, and I never understood that it was all inside.
Yeah, that is huge.
It is huge, and that's where we all should be seeking, is finding that home within. And you'll see, like, life changes, because then it doesn't matter, if you don't pay your electrical bill and the lights go out. It's like, I'm still home. I still have a roof over my head. You know what? I can figure out a way to bring light into this home.
Right.
You know, I might not be able to pay the electrical bill right now, but maybe next week I will and the lights will be back on. But in the meantime, I'm going to make the best of it.
Yes.
I'm going to create light in a different way, in a fun way. Maybe I'll have a bunch of lanterns lit up in my house.
Candles.
And I'm going to make them look like there's stars all over my home.
Yes.
Your perspective of things will change. So instead of being depressed and going to that dark place, once you find home within, then things just shift in a different way where you can turn a negative experience into a beautiful experience.
Yeah. And I think you can also begin to release those things. You said they have held us captive. Why do I have all of these things? That's why you hear a lot about people who are minimalists. You hear a lot of people more recently living in their, getting a little mobile home and just living in their vehicles and doing things like that because they're realizing that this, attaining all of these things, or having all of these things really isn't, where the happiness is. It's
That's
within
right.
them, and they can and that can go with them anywhere. So people are jumping in their cars and transforming their vans and getting RVs and just taking to the road and just living life because they realize, like you said, it's in them. It's not in the stationary things that are there. And I get, again, it goes back to mindset. They're
Yes.
changing their mindset and saying, okay, but I love, love, love that you say that you were seeking a home and that home was in you all the time. That's powerful. That's an aha moment. Where you're
Yes.
saying, wow, I didn't realize it. It's been inside of me all along. And I've
it
been
took me a
grappling around.
really long time to realize that. And I never understood it. I always thought that I always thought it was because I was born poor and we never really had a home, a nice home, or, that we kind of see. We always looking up to people that have more than you, right? We always look up to people that are wealthy and have good things, and we always compare ourselves. So I always thought, because I never had, a nice home since the time I was born, that home was like a place, a beautiful place, a physical thing. I never realized that it was all within. It was just the feeling. It's a state of being.
Yes.
And one of my greatest teachers was my mom, and she has gone through a lot in her life, and no matter what darkness or struggle she was going through, she'd wake up the next day with a smile on her face and would go to work like nothing happened. Her world might have been upside down the night before, and she might have been in the darkest place, but she would get up in the morning, go to work with a big smile on her face. And I realized, she created this imaginary world where everything is just right. And I remember one day we were driving, and I don't know where we were driving, but we were driving a van. It was work related. I don't know. But the wipers, it was raining. The wipers were broken. And it was pouring rain. And we're like, oh my God, we can't see anything. So she comes out, gets a rope, ties the wipes, and she's pulling the rope so she can see. And, she's just like, oh, I'll solve this problem. But with that, like, she made it fun. Like, and we just laughed the whole entire ride. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody would have been, pull over, can't believe I can't see, could have made the situation like it was the worst thing, would have been, calling for help, trying to. And she's like, oh, I'll just fix it.
And lemonade out of those lemons.
Yes. And not only that, she made lemonade, and we just laughed the whole entire time because we look ridiculous doing it, pulling strings, so we can see where we're going. And I always remember that, like, you can turn any situation around, and all it takes is a mindset, a switch.
That's it.
And you have choice. And the choice that you have is to either follow that negative thinking, the negative thought that comes in, that negative emotion, or you have the choice to switch that around and say, I'm going to make the best out of the situation.
That's it. That's it.
That's
I love
it.
it. I love it. I mean, and it is. It goes again back to mindset. We have to
Yes.
look at it and say, okay, yeah, do I stay in this vacuum and just continue to vacillate? And do I stay in this, or do I move forward, or do I look to see what I can do to get out of this space that I consider comfortable? But when I think about comfortable, I'm thinking that I'm thinking something good. It feels good. It feels comfortable. But when you're in that vacuum, that comfort, like you said, is toxic. It's
It is.
toxic. It's a false sense of comfort. Because when I think of comfort, I think of it as being something good, but it takes on a negative connotation when when you're talking about it causing stagnancy. Now I'm stagnant. I can't move because I'm comfortable being right here, and I don't have to worry about anything. Like you said, if things begin to take care of themselves. But what happens when they don't? When it just
Yes.
becomes worse, when it spirals and it just starts compound, then what do
And
you?
it does. And I'm glad you brought up that word stagnant. And we are energy beings.
Yeah.
Our soul is energy. That's what feeds our body. That energy that's in our body flowing is the essence of our soul. That's the energy flowing. When you start building the emotional container with negative thoughts and negative emotions, it throws off our energy. It becomes stagnant. Now you're turning, this beautiful energy flowing in your body into a negative state of flow. And the more you stay in that negative state of flow, that negative energy just starts building up and building up and taking over. And it's very hard to get out of it. And you don't realize that it becomes toxic, not only, to you and to your body, because it will eventually manifest into illnesses, but it becomes toxic to the whole environment that you're in as well.
Yeah. It is. We should always be seeking to be in that state of homeostasis, because just like you were talking about, when you would cry and they would tell you stop crying, be quiet. We hear that with our young boys, man up, suck it up, stop crying. And but that's a part of what helps us to be able to have our body be in harmony.
Yes.
If we start suppressing those things that are natural, just like when we sweat, it's a way of cooling our body down because it's overheating. Our body has systems that are set up to help us to maintain that sense of homeostasis. And when we suppress those things, that's when, like you said, the illness, the toxicity, the dis-ease comes in, and then we're stuck. We're not in a place where we can function effectively.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. It is important.
So, I always like to say, when you look at babies, right? They will cry out, if they're in need of something, they'll start crying. And then all of a sudden, they'll just switch over and start laughing for no reason. And the reason they do that is because naturally, us as humans are supposed to process those emotions. And if you look at babies, they do that naturally because, we already come in with that already built in, that programming to feel the feeling until it no longer needs to be felt. And they will do that. And then in a split second, they'll switch around and start laughing because they have cried out whatever feeling they were feeling until it was like gone out of their system.
Right.
But then what happens is our parents, our environment, whoever's taking care of us, will start telling us, well, stop crying. Why are you crying? You're still crying? Why are you complaining? Why are you sad? Stop being sad. So we start getting conditioned not to feel.
Right.
To start suppressing those emotions. But you can't go outside like that. You can't tell people you've been crying and no, you got to be strong, right? And we're all told this, like, can't show your feelings. You gotta, put on the face when you
Right.
go out. Put on
Right.
this happy face. People can't see that you've been crying or upset.
Right.
So we've been conditioned by our environment to suppress all those emotions, but
Right.
we're not supposed to do that.
No, when we do that, we can't get the help that we need. If someone
Exactly.
doesn't know that you're suffering and you're suffering in silence, how can they help? And there are so many resources and things out here, but if, like you said, we're in that constant state of suppression, and when somebody says, "Oh, how are you doing?" I might say, "I'm great." You can have a migraine, you have all kinds of things, but that person could have helped you. If you said, "Well, I got a little headache," that person could have said, "Hey, I've got some Tylenol, or I've got some Advil, I've got something for you." That could have helped to ease the pain, but we're so conditioned, like you said, to just suppress and say, "Oh no, I'm fine, everything's great," and we just suffer in silence.
Yes.
And that's a dangerous place to be in when we can't get the help that we need because we don't know how to ask for it.
Absolutely. And we don't know who to go to. And then there's trust issues, right? Well, I don't trust that person. Where I don't trust. Well, there's been instances where I've cried out for help and there were the wrong people to ask for help,
Mhm.
but I needed to get it out of my system. And that's
Right.
what was important. It's
Right.
and so many clients that I have, even friends where, they'll come up to me, I'm like, oh, I can't believe that just came out and I said it to the wrong person. Like, what does it
Mm.
matter if
Right.
let your feelings out to the wrong person? So what if they're going to go and spread rumors and talk about you? The important thing is that you're able to release,
Right. Right.
stop trying to um, pick and choose who can I go to. Just get it out.
Right. Right.
So what if they're going to judge just because themselves are not confident?
Right.
If they're judging you, there's an issue within them.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
So it's okay if, sometimes the help that you really need might not be right there, but just seek, whoever you can.
Right. You've opened the door at least to and connected with your emotions enough to
Yes.
say, okay, enough to begin to discern that, okay, this may not be the right person, but that should motivate you to find somebody who is
Yeah.
qualified.
At least empty out your container at the moment
Yes.
that, if you are at that point where you just need to let it out, just let it out. It doesn't matter who it is. Don't worry about what they're going to say or how they're going to judge you. The important thing is that you empty that container
Right.
and you don't suppress it in where it's going to burst and become something bigger.
Right. Right. That makes perfect sense. So let's talk about, again, wrapping up some of the things that we've talked about when we're looking at overcoming and transforming those limited beliefs. Like you said, first you have to want it.
Yeah.
You have to want it for yourself. You've got to be in that mindset, or in that space of being able to say, okay, I'm open to at least coming to the realization that I'm tired of being tired.
Yes.
I'm tired of being where I am, and I want to move forward from there. And then, like you said, removing some of those toxic people who may be trying to drag you down, people who may want to keep you, like crabs in the barrel. They just want to keep you down,
Help
you know.
prevent you
Yeah.
to, make those changes. And sometimes, and it's just okay, you might have to remove yourself away from that environment for a little while
Right.
until you heal yourself, and then you could come back.
Right.
A lot of people are afraid, well, I'm going to leave my family. Well, it's okay to leave them just for a little while because you can handle, in the state of emotion that you're in, you may not be able to handle them
Right.
because they're going through their own thing.
Right.
So stepping away for a little while until you get yourself together is okay, so that you're strong enough to come back and be able
Right.
to deal with those people again.
Right. Right. That makes perfect sense. And then, like you said, we were talking about, seeking the help, going and looking for those who can help you to get past, the blockages that have been set up, that have been keeping you from being able to move forward. Finding that person or those people that can help you to move forward. And then, of course, you said talking about that gratitude. being
Yes.
able to live in that moment and saying, okay, in this moment right now, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine where I am. I'm breathing. I have the breath of life in me. I'm good. I'm okay. You're expressing that gratitude for the small things that are going on around you. And then, like you said, then you're going to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to release these emotions. I'm going to let
Yes.
these things that have been hindering me go, because in showing my gratitude, I'm happy about those things, but I can let go of those negative things that have been holding me back. So those are some wonderful, tools that people can use. We want to, make sure that people are in the space of having the resources and the tools that they need to be successful, to be able
Yes.
to move past things. And that's why we have things like this show and your show, to be able to share our experiences and to introduce people who may not know where to go, to give them options. If we
Absolutely.
don't expose people, we like you said, we stay in that vacuum and we don't know
Hmm.
how to get out of it because we don't know how.
Yeah.
How do I do it?
And we live now in a world where resources are available at our
Abundant
fingertips.
information age.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can look up anything. There's tons of free information out there.
Yes. Yeah.
Free, you can research anything and find your way. It's not like when I was going through my struggle, I didn't know where to go. There was no Google at the time.
Right.
Um, so we have access
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
find, our way into getting out of where we are. We
Yeah.
can look that up. We can find tools. There's so many tools out there that are free.
Right.
YouTube, research, Google, so many tips of things you can try. Just try something. Just try one thing. See how it works. If it doesn't work, try something else.
That's it. But I mean, the greatest takeaway, at least for me, is when you were talking about that house or that home being within.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for us to remember that it starts with us.
Yes.
We're that home, we're that comfort, we're that space that's best for us. That's why we were born into it.
Mm-hmm.
We say our body is our temple, right? This is our temple. This is
I
our home.
firmly believe that our life mission is to find that connection within, you
Yeah,
know, and we go through the struggles that we go through because we have to learn how to connect within somehow.
right,
And I think once you reach that point where you do connect, it's like mission accomplished.
right, right, right.
Your soul, starts jumping up and down, says,
Mhm.
"Yay, you found yourself. You
Yeah,
found who you truly are."
it's like I've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome home, welcome home.
Yes.
You've been here all along. That's it. It's just a matter of cleaning house.
Yes.
Now we can clean out the cobwebs and everything else that's been in here and make it what it needs to be. So I think that
Exactly.
is wonderful. This has just been awesome. It's been wonderful to be able to talk about how to start to press forward, because we have so many things that are going on around us, and
Hmm.
we have to be able to rise out of the miry clay. We've got to come out of the clay and to be able to see that we're that beautiful lotus flower that we can be in our own lives. So I thank you for taking time to come and to talk about the importance of this, and to see how we can finally begin to make our way, because
Yes.
things
Oh,
things
it's
are not
my
going.
pleasure. It's so wonderful to be on your show and,
Oh,
to spread this love to, whoever's listening, to give some inspiration. And
absolutely.
I love your mission, and
Thank
we're
you.
all here to, help each other out.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so, like I said, what I want to do definitely is give people an opportunity to tell them how they can get in contact with you, and to learn more about what it is that you're doing and how you can help them in the process as well. So let them know how they can reach you, your website or your email, how they can reach out.
They can reach out to me on my website. It's martppractice.com.
I say it one more time: MAR
martppractice.com.
practice.
.com.
Okay.
And just reach out. So I help people through the process of hypnotherapy and other holistic healing tools to get over depression, anxiety, and limiting beliefs, whatever it is that you have going that's kind of blocking you from, moving forward in your life. And these are wonderful tools that, can really help you and doesn't have side effects.
Right.
My goal is to help you get out of that depression in a holistic way where you could connect within, help you connect and find your spirit within and connect with your divine self.
Nice.
And
Nice. And
find that love.
now, can they also find out about your podcast on that website as well?
Yes, my podcast is on there, and you can find me on YouTube. It's called Rising Out of the Chrysalis, Stories That Inspire. You can also search it by my name, Marisa Grace. Or you could find me on Facebook under Marisa Grace as well. And I'm also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you'll be able to find the show there. And it's all about sharing stories of our traumas and how we overcame those traumas and were able to find purpose.
Yes, yes, I love that. Okay, now one thing that I ask my guests before we go is how they are living in the now. How are you living in this space? What are some things that you do personally that help you to live in the now?
What I do is, I have a whole self-care routine. And this is very important. I recommend everybody we all need a little bit of time of reflection and for ourselves. And it could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, whatever amount of time you have in your hands to just pause, do a little meditation or self-reflection and tell yourself, you know what, Marisa, you're beautiful. Today you did a great job. You can do this. Just give yourself some, pep talk. When was the last time you spoke to yourself? It's, we generally don't have conversations with ourselves. And all it takes is like 2 minutes. You're brushing your teeth, talk to yourself, have a conversation, say, how you doing? So nice to see you this morning. You're going to have a wonderful day and just, set the scene for the day. And that's what I like to do and take time to meditate and just reflect and, set myself up for the day.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay. Now, are there any other words that you have for our listeners before we go? Any parting words that you'd like to leave with them that they can carry with them through the rest of their week?
Absolutely. I firmly believe your mind is the most powerful healing tool that you have. And it's there for a reason. You just have to learn how to use it because it could just change your life around. And anything is possible. Your circumstances can change just like that. And it's a matter of you just turning on that switch.
Turn on that switch. Okay. And you heard it here. Again, Marisa, thank you so much for being with me. You know that as a How Now family member, you're always welcome back to come and talk about things that are going on, because what's happening right now may be different a couple of weeks, a couple of days, a couple of hours from now. So you're always welcome to come back here to this How Now podcast home. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I absolutely adore you, and I'm so grateful that you're here with us. Okay. And
thank you for having me, Kim. It's a pleasure to, be around you and share this experience with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. And that will do it for this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until we see you the next time, I say peace.